So now let's start with this determination of coefficient of permeability. Coefficient of permeability can be determined in laboratory by two methods. Very first one is constant head permeability test, and second one is falling head permeability test. Field measurement is also done by two methods like pumping in test and pumping out test. So the following diagram is of constant head permeability test. You can see here the typical type of arrangement experimental setup is maintained. Here the head it is maintained at a level by the means of supply tank. Here in supply tank, outflow version or outflow pipe is made by which concentrate is stable. Second one is falling head method. Here you cannot find out the supply tank, so the head of water is always increasing or decreasing. Hence the particular method is called as falling head method. So these both the practicals are included in your practical syllabus. So we will see in detail in our practical discussion. Moving further to effective pressure and pore pressure. When soil mass is submerged under water, the interconnected voids in the soil get completely filled with water. Under static equilibrium conditions, this water is the pore extent pressure in all directions. Under static equilibrium conditions, this water in the pore extends to the pressure in all directions. This is called as pore pressure. The pore pressure reduces the intergranular contact pressure between the soil planes. The pressure transmitted from particles to particles at their point of contact is effective in bringing soil particles together and is called as effective pressure. In other words, it can be seen that it is effective in reducing void ratio. It is also helpful in increasing shear strength of non-cohesive soil. Consider soil mass in submerged condition as shown in figure. Here in this figure you can see typical type of soil mass is below the height or below the depth L, below the water. So there the total pressure comes as effective pressure plus pore pressure. Effective pressure and pore pressure are shown by different signs, symbols. You can see in diagram, here is the water and submerged soil present over there. Look at diagram. The height of water is h1 or depth of water is h1 and depth of soil is h2. The very first diagram is shown for gamma W, that is bulk unit weight of water. Second one is gamma submerged, that is for soil, the soil which is submerged below the water, and by adding these two we can get the total pore pressure diagram. So here you can get the pore pressure diagram. Gamma W H1 is the height of water plus gamma saturated H2, where H2 is height of saturated soil. By adding these two we can get this formula. So this will be more watched in our theory lecture. Next one is seepage pressure. What is seepage pressure then? Water exerts pressure on the soil through which it proceeded, which is called as seepage pressure. The seepage pressure is exerted due to the friction of soil or water flowing through the soil. The pressure acts in the direction of flow of water. If H is hydraulic driving head or head loss which causes water to flow through soil mass of length L, then seepage pressure developed given by written as gamma W H, where gamma W is unit weight of water and H is hydraulic mean depth. So we can write this formula and derive this formula as shown in figure. flow in downward direction and effective pressure generated, also shown in diagram. Next is quicksand condition. It is also called as quicksand or soily condition. It is not type of sand, but also it is a condition in case of sandy or silty soils. When seepage pressure is in upward direction and equals to submerged weight of soil, the effective pressure reduces to zero. As effective pressure is the intergranular pressure at the points of zero contact of soil grains, there exists no friction between grain to grain, and hence soil loses its odd shearing resistance and shearing capacity, and the soil will behave like very viscous fluid. So this condition is very dangerous, as such soil does not have any supporting power. Any man or animal stepping on it will sink. In nature, this condition is observed usually in coarse soils or cohesion-based soil, subjected to artesian flow, or in the case of seepage pressure, so in the case of excavation in sandy soil under water table, or in case of well foundation. It does not occur in the case of cohesive soil because cohesive forces in soil resist the boiling. This condition is called as boiling condition because the seepage pressure makes sandy particles to look like boiling in water. Next one is seepage velocity and discharge velocity. The total cross-sectional area of soil mass consists of not only the voids but also the solids. Hence, the discharge velocity is not the actual velocity through the soil mass. It is a fictitious velocity obtained by dividing the total discharge Q by total cross-sectional area A. As flow takes place only through the voids, the actual velocity through voids is much greater than the discharge velocity. This actual velocity on a microscopic scale known as seepage velocity. So this is the derivation for seepage velocity. From continuity equation of flow, we can get Q is equal to VA, where V is velocity and A is area, cross-sectional area. So here for velocity, V is discharge velocity. Instead of that, we will write seepage velocity, which is Vs, and VAV is area of voids. So we can match the two equations. VA is equal to Vs into VAV. So equation can be written as Vs is equal to V into VA upon V into A upon AV. So multiplying dividing by L, we can write the following equation: A into L upon AV into L, where A into L is V1 and AV into L is VV, where V1 is total volume of soil mass and VV is volume of voids, where V is volume. So VV upon V1 is porosity. So instead of that, we will write porosity N. So V is equals to V upon N, where V is equals to Ki. So our formula becomes as Vs is equals to Kp into I. So the coefficient of percolation is known as Kp. The seepage velocity is not absolute velocity through the soil mass. The voids in the soil mass are tortuous and irregular in cross section. The absolute velocity varies from point to point. Its direction may also change. In fact, the problem itself is so complex and analysis is to be done on microscopic scale. The total discharge is computed either from discharge velocity or the seepage velocity. The discharge velocity is more convenient to use. Next one is critical hydraulic gradient. Critical hydraulic gradient, it can be defined as the minimum hydraulic gradient at which soil grains just lost contact with each other. Thus, the shearing strength of sandy soil is zero, and physically sand is in the boiling condition at the critical hydraulic gradient. Considering that flow is in upward direction as shown in figure and fixed stress as zero for occurring quicksand condition, that is rho is equal to 0. Next are flow line. When seepage takes place through soil mass, the path along which water will flow under laminar flow condition is called as flow line. Flow lines are used to construct flow net. Water flow from higher head to lower head. Hence we can draw a series of smooth curves representing the path followed by moving water particles. So this is the diagram of flow and equipotential line. Here you can see the flow line and equipotential lines also. So same the concept of equipotential line. An equipotential line is the line passing through points of level equal hydraulic potential or head. If piezometrics are inserted along with the equipotential line, water will rise to the same elevation in all the piezometers. Equipotential lines are always perpendicular to flow lines. Next are phreatic lines. When the earthen structure are constructed to retain water, the topmost flow line through the soil mass is called as phreatic line. Phreatic line is the upper free water surface of the zone of seepage pressure within the body of the earthen dam. Here you can see the phreatic line which shows the upper stream water level which joins the upper stream water level to the downstream water level. Below phreatic line, soil is saturated completely. Along phreatic line, hydrostatic pressure is 0. Next are flow net. Flow net is the grid formed by the intersection of flow lines and equipotential lines. You can see in diagram also. The flow lines and equipotential lines intersect orthogonally. The portion of flow net bounded by two adjacent flow lines is called as flow channel. Every section of a flow channel located between two adjacent equipotential lines is called as feed. So here are some characteristics of flow net. The flow lines and equipotential lines meet at right angle to each other. The quantity of water flowing through each flow channel is same. The same potential drop occur between two successive equipotential lines. The field are approximately squares. The flow net represent the flow pattern and dissipation of hydraulic head. Next one is construction of flow net. The flow net can be obtained by any one of the following method: solution of Laplace equation, electrical analogy method, soil models, plastic models, graphical method. Since the graphical method is widely used, it is explained below. Graphical method, the commonest procedure for obtaining flow net is graphical method. Trial and error sketching method for seepage problem with well-defined boundary condition. Reasonably good flow net can be obtained by practice and by adhering to the correct boundary condition and use of square figures. The following points may be observed to obtain a reasonably good flow net. Here are some figures where flow lines and equipotential lines are right angle. They made a square blocks at the permeable boundaries, at permeable boundary entering, sheet pile wall and earth dam wall. All the time you can see the permeable boundaries. So talking about it, right angle, flow lines and equipotential line must be crossed at right angle. Square block, the area formed by intersecting flow line and equipotential line must be as near square as possible. That is, the central dimension should be equal. A useful test is to be visualized whether a circle can be placed inside the block and touch all four sides. Boundary condition like permeable boundaries. You can see here EB, DE, ST, PQ in third and C and A diagram, sheet pile wall diagram. You can see all these things. So these are permeable boundaries. And talking about impermeable boundaries, FG, BCD, PT in below diagram are impermeable boundaries. There is no flow across these boundaries and thus there are flow lines. Normally 4 to 5 flow channels are sufficient. The entire flow net should be observed and not that a part of it. The curve should be roughly parabolic and or elliptical in shape. The flow lines and equipotential lines should be orthogonal and form approximate squares. All transaction should be smooth. The size of the square in flow channel should change gradually from the upstream to the downstream. The quantity of water flowing through each channel is same. Same potential drop occur between two successive equipotential lines. Smaller the dimension of the field, greater will be the hydraulic gradient and velocity of flow through it. The hydraulic boundary conditions have a great effect on the shape of the flow net. Here are some uses of flow net for determining discharge, for determining total head, for determining pressure head, and determining hydraulic gradient. We used flow net. Talking further about shear failure of soil, which is the second part of our chapter, we will start it in next video.